All right, welcome back, everybody, to Clicks and Bricks, episode number 30. Wow. You'll notice that we changed the set a little bit today, and Brian's not here with us today. And unfortunately, Brian's not going to be with us moving forward. So he has decided to go out and try new things in life. So we're going to try to do Clicks and Bricks without him today. I don't know if I'm going to get another partner in or if I'm going to run this thing solo. But one idea that we did have, and let me know if you think this is a good idea or bad idea, but shortening the Clicks and Bricks episodes down and doing just one or two quick topics, but do them every single day, like a 20-minute episode every day instead of like the 1 hour episode every week. If you're interested in that, hit us up at clicksandbricks@hosterian.com. That's HOSTIRIAN.com. If you'd like to join my text line community, 314-370-2871, I promise I'll never try to sell you anything. If you just text hi to that or ask me any question to that phone number, you'll join my text community and you get motivational tips, tricks, and things like that about technology and business in general. If you want to know about Hosterian services, 314-216-2040. If you want to talk about hosting services, if you want to talk about technology, antivirus, malware removal, WordPress help, dedicated servers, co-location, anything like that, 216-314-2040. So that's it for the intros today. Today's episode is brought to you by Inlink.com. Inlink.com is rapport made easy. My Inlink account is inlink.com/Ken. Go check it out. It's absolutely free to sign up. It's all of your social media profiles in one location. It's a really nice platform, and it's absolutely free to get your main account, and it's really cheap if you want to get verified. So it's a great tool to have in your bucket. Today's episode, what can frustration teach you? But first, we're going to go between the cubes. What have we been talking about in the office this week? And this week was Memorial Day weekend. How was your Memorial Day weekend? Mine was pretty decent. I'll tell you, Memorial Day itself was a little different for me than normal. Normally, we go to the funeral place, JB Park, where all the veterans are buried. I've got a couple nephews that are there, and my grandfather's there. So that's what we normally do, and we didn't do that this year. I'm not quite sure why we didn't do that this year, but that's what we normally do. I think my son was having an extra rough day, and I was definitely battling a hangover that I didn't expect to have. So had a graduation party on Sunday, ended up staying a little later than I expected to, and but anyway, it was a great time. Did some barbecuing and things like that. So I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day, and I hope you appreciate everything that our soldiers that have died for us and our freedoms have done. So anyway, we're going to jump right into today's episode. What can frustration teach you? The first question Brian asks, funny, not Brian, not our Brian, but what are your philosophies on frustration teaching you something in both life and business? I don't think a lot about frustration, but I do. I know that a lot of things frustrate me, and if I boil down to it, if it's frustrating versus pissing me off, or just something that I have to work through, determining that I'm frustrated, I think, is the first step for me to really decide how it's going to help me, and then. I mean, basically, when the frustration goes away, you know that you've solved your problem, right? So sometimes you might have just maybe it's not solving the problem. Maybe you just got rid of the frustration, but you still have the problem. You're not going to resolve much if you're frustrated about it, though. If you're just constantly beating your head against the wall and you feel frustrated, you've got to change something. You've got to change a gear. You got to add a person, remove a person. You have to do something to try to remove that frustration, because it's just not healthy to be frustrated all the time like that. So I feel that way both in life and business. I don't think that there's not that big of a difference between life and business. I know that's not everybody in the world, but for me, it's definitely that way. Everything I do in life, I try to bring into business in both ways. So I don't have a very good work-life balance, but I do that intentionally, right? I don't like very much just sitting in the back porch on a Sunday afternoon for hours on end. I'd rather be working on a project or something like that. So frustration for me is a challenge. I'm very frequently frustrated. Diagnosing that it's a frustration and not something different is the most important for me. And then a lot of times, for me at least, I'm just frustrated with something And when I'm trying to communicate my frustrations, people think that I'm angry at them. So it's really important for me to diagnose as a frustration or as an anger, and then communicate, hey guys, I'm not mad at you. This is just frustrating for me. So a lot of times the frustration comes out as anger. Brian, I hope that answered your question. This is not the best topic in the world for me personally to be talking about, but we'll keep moving forward and we'll do the best that we can. So moving on to the next question, Tanner asks, Nick is moving the board around for me right now. So thank you, Nick. How do you deal with employees who are frustrated? Are there different ways you have tried to do so? Okay, so this is kind of a funner topic, right? So the employees are frustrated for a whole lot of reasons. I think a lot of bosses believe that the employees, and the employee might even believe this too, that they're frustrated with their pay grade. And what I've found that to be the case is not necessarily all the time. So if it is their pay grade, that's pretty easy to handle. Hopefully they've talked to you about it. Hopefully you have some kind of plan in place to make sure that as they're there, they show that they're part of the company, that they're embracing what you're doing, and they're part of your team, and you have some kind of way to level them up with pay over the time frame that you're with them. I think that's the most common thing that people think that they're frustrated about in work, is that they don't make enough money. At the end of the day, that's probably not really it. So if they're frustrated that they don't feel like they're part of a team, that's a problem. What I do there is I try to, if they feel like they're not part of the team, is I try to let them lead a team or be the lead of a project. And that typically puts them in the place where they do start to feel like they're part of the team, at least because they're heading up a project. Or it lets them realize that, hey, I was part of a team all the time, and maybe I wasn't embracing the team that I was on. Other things that employees can be frustrated about is your technology. I know, like at Hosterian, we have one of our data centers doesn't have redundant air conditioners, and the air conditioner in that room is getting old. And I know that my data center staff has been wildly frustrated with the risk involved if that air conditioner goes offline, and it's been having some problems. So I know that they're frustrated, they're working hard. So as an employer, we went ahead and made the investment to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. And it was not an expensive resolve to this issue, but we went ahead, and because we're a data center, we needed redundant air conditioning loops in that room anyway. So we went ahead and invested in getting that air conditioner, all dual air conditioners across the board, and that immediately, once the data center staff heard that, hey, we're getting this other air conditioner, before it was ever delivered, and actually we're installing it this Thursday, before it was ever even delivered, their frustration was almost gone. So finding out what they're frustrated about and making those things go away for them, to me, is the easiest way to work with employee frustration. The other one that they have that I find a lot is we run a call center as well, is they just get frustrated when customers are brutal, right? And there's just no way around that. Smile, nod your head. Once you're off the phone, vent to your staff and keep going that way. Other ways that I deal with it is I make sure that, once a week, probably I try to make sure that I buy the staff all lunch. Make sure that there's always beer and a place that we can have an open conversation about whatever they're doing. So I feel like frustrations can really, really build and become toxic if the person doesn't feel like they have a way to vent those frustrations. And if you give them an open forum with either their direct supervisor, or in my case, I let people come directly to me. I let them know that, hey, we appreciate the hierarchy and the pecking order. If you ever have a problem and you don't think your direct supervisor is going to handle it properly, feel free to come to me. Your supervisor is probably going to know that you came to me, but he's also going to know that it wasn't you going around the system or behind his back or anything like that, that we have a very, very strict open door policy. We very, very seldomly at Hosterian ever even close a door, and I mean that literally, right? We try not to even close doors unless it's in the data center, then they're always closed and locked. But the offices, we try to keep those open so that people are comfortable walking in and having those conversations. So I feel like today's episode's going really, really quickly, but we might not be an hour today, right? Since we're flipping the coin, we're changing all the rules, we might not hit a full 1 hour episode today. So we're going to go on to the next question. This is Tara. This is the third question. And what does Tara have to ask? So these are both business and life, man. Okay. So in business and in life, do you think it's better to avoid frustration or deal with it head on? Deal with it head on. Don't. If you avoid frustration, you're just prolonging what's going on, right? So, head on, dive right in, and get that, whatever you're frustrated about, face it and get it over with. There are times that I avoid frustration. It's not healthy. I don't think it's ever healthy. So, deal with it head on, face to face, as soon as possible. So, I'm trying to think of a real life context here today. So if you have an employee, then you have to terminate them, right? That's frustrating. It's scary. It's a lot of things. So, it's very, very easy, or it's not easy to do. It's never easy to let somebody go. But to me, the easiest way to do that is to do it very quickly. No beating around the bush. Sit them down. Tell them that their services are no longer needed and why their services are no longer needed, and move forward. So don't let that stuff sit around, right? It's not healthy at all. So deal with those things face head on as quickly as possible. We're going to go on to Today in Tech History, 6/1/21. On June 4th, 1977, VH tape introduced to Americas. VHS, or Video Home System, was based on an open standard developed by JVC in 1976. I didn't know it was an open standard. And I guess I don't know what open standard is. You know the difference between open standard and open source? Is there a significant difference? I'd be interested to know the difference between open standards and open source. VHS is huge, right? Without VHS, what VHS did to film is what Netflix is doing to VHS now, or it's already done to VHS, but has done to DVDs and everything else. So, really great technology, past its time, right? It was pretty, for what it was great technology. You could record video really affordably and get it out to the masses really quickly. But it was a technology that wasn't around all that long in reality, right? Because you had DVDs come out almost on its tail, and DVDs, I think, are in Blu-ray, right? Blu-ray, I think, was even shorter lived, right? It was I'm sure people are still buying Blu-rays, but I never had a Blu-ray player, and I've never had a reason to have one. So, thank you, JVC. Is JVC still around? I see their brand every now and then, but I don't see it nearly as relevant or prevalent as it used to be, right? So, well, hopefully they come back up with something eventually. So, going on to the next question. Steven asks, what does Steven ask? Do you deal with different frustrated people in different ways? For example, employees, employers, customers, what's the difference? The answer is absolutely yes. And that's not just with frustration, that's with everything. So what you have to do is, specifically on frustration, you find out what they're frustrated about and you try to remove that. That's the easiest way to do it. But some people don't know how to communicate that they're frustrated, right? They're just kind of, they're bickering, they're complaining that, I'm overworked, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that. So you got to figure out, what's frustrating them and try to remove it. One thing that I've done is let people work less than 40 hours in a week, right? So we have an employee that, is here and he's got some other things that he wants to pursue, and he's a full-time employee. So, what we did for him is he just, on Tuesdays specifically, he works half a day. So he's not here for the whole day on Tuesdays, and that gives him his time to go off and do his hobby and really get more time invested into that. Other employees, I make sure that I always have cold Bud Light on staff, right, and stock. So, and then so I have one employee that we order an obscene amount of Popeye's chicken. So, those different things, I think, and those don't really fix their frustrations, but it lets them know that they're in a place that does care about them, that does want them to be happy. And I think if you know that, then it's kind of hard to get frustrated at your job as a whole, right? They're going to get frustrated at tasks. That's going to happen, right? I think tasks are going to be hard to do. They're going to get frustrated with other people. People are hard to deal with. Everybody had some kind of night last night. Some of them had great nights, some of them had bad nights, and you never know what you're going to walk into the next day, right? So if they had an argument with their significant other or their parent or whatever, sometimes you just have to see them that day and gauge it. And if they are frustrated, my best advice then is either get them something that's going to hopefully cheer them up, or just shut up and listen, which is sometimes hard for me to do. But I'm getting better at it. Every year I'm better at shutting up and listening to the people in my life. So that's the best advice that I have for dealing with different people and their frustration levels. So, and then the bonus question today is asked by Annie. What do you think the next breakthrough or wave in technology will be? What's that? We have another question? Okay. All right, pause. We're going to do this one. We're going to do this as we just got a live question come in. Michael?
Said, so would you say that the first step in helping/dealing with an employee's frustration as a leader would be having a personal conversation with them?
Okay, so the question is from Michael, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't know the exact everything and I can't read from that far away. Do you think that the first step of dealing with an employee's or person's frustration is having a personal confrontation? And I think confrontation has a negative
conversation.
Oh, okay, just a conversation. I don't think it has to be the first step. The first step, I think, is diagnosing. Is that person frustrated? Are they having a bad day? The first time you bring it up to them, they're probably gonna deny it, right? I mean, you got to think about if you're a parent. Actually, let's take that out because I don't want to compare employees and teenagers because that's a bad influence or a bad segue. The first thing you got to do is try to diagnose: are they even frustrated or not? Are they just having a bad day? Right? If they're having a bad day, maybe just let it go till tomorrow and then see what happens. Is it affecting their performance at work? That's another question that you have to ask yourself. Say, they're frustrated with this. I know they're frustrated with it, but it's not affecting their performance, and there's nothing we can do about it right now. So maybe sometimes, this is probably rare, is just kind of let it slide, and then whenever you have the resolve for the frustration, let them know that it's been resolved. If you do diagnose that somebody's frustrated with something, I think the first thing that you should do is acknowledge their frustration and have some empathy and let them know that you understand that they're frustrated, that you're frustrated as well, and let's work together as a team to remove these frustrations. So I think that's probably diagnosing would be the first thing, and then going into it, not making an assumption. Don't make an assumption that they're frustrated. Then if you think that they are, then yes, I think the next logical step then would be some kind of conversation with them. And what I would probably personally do would be dive right in head first and just straight up ask them, hey, I think you're frustrated about X, Y, and Z. I think a better approach would probably be sit down and have a conversation with them and say, hey, how's everything going? And then try to open it up and then have a conversation openly about it and let them tell you what they're frustrated about instead of assuming and talking at them. So maybe talking about that out loud just maybe helped me the next time that I have to deal with something like that. But if they come to you and say, hey, I'm frustrated with this, that's going to be much better than you guessing and asking them if they're frustrated with a specific topic. And then sometimes you're just going to know. It's going to be very clear, right, that why they're frustrated. I knew that my data center staff was frustrated that the air conditioner kept breaking because every time it broke, it meant another 20 hours of labor on everybody's bucket in that week. So sometimes it's super obvious. sometimes it's not that obvious, right? Sometimes here's a funny one is somebody's office is too close to the restroom, and every time the toilet flushes, they hear it, and that frustrates them, right? So the answer there might be move them. But if they don't tell you that, those kinds of frustrations are really hard to diagnose, right? Because they're not in your face, they're not there all the time. So, every case is different, but diagnosing and conversation, I think, are two key parts of unwinding that frustration. So now we'll go on to Annie's question. What do you think the next breakthrough or wave of technology will be? I think NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are going to be huge. I think they're already broken out, though. They're taking off. I don't think that virtual reality is ever going to make it to mainstream, but I do have a really wild belief that augmented reality is going to be where we really knock it out of the park. And I just don't think that right now, at least, that human beings are ready for full submersion video games and gameplay. And honestly, I don't think it's probably good for us, right? It's probably really, really bad for humanity when gameplay is indistinguishable from real life. And I don't think we're that far away from it. I know that there's some VR today that if you're in it with some, also some like, impact kind of information, like tactile feedback on your bodysuits and things like that, that I've had people tell me that, yeah, it gets really hard to tell, are you really in that situation or not in that situation? And I think that's bad for the human psyche. It's bad for the brain. So, but augmented reality where you have, like Microsoft's got Halo, I think is what they call it. It's a pair of glasses that you can see through, but then it puts up information on the glasses, kind of like what you would think of Terminator. So I think that augmented reality is where the real future is going to be. Is that going to be in Musk's? Elon's working on some kind of brain implant that would provide some kind of augmented reality, and Microsoft's got Halo. There's also retinal projection, which is really cool stuff to look at, which would basically be a pair of glasses that just projects an image onto your retina. So then you really believe that you're just seeing it. What's the long-term effects of retinal projection? I don't know. I'm sure some doctors have some theories, but if that laser is too bright, it could potentially damage your eye forever. Hopefully it's not like the old school screens where you get the Windows icon like burnt into the screen. You can get some bad stuff burned into your retina, I suppose. But NFTs, augmented and virtual reality, I think are the next big hits. And I think that right now, specifically because the way NFTs can be transacted inside a virtual world or an augmented world is just phenomenal. And I think all these things coming together is going to create a really unique, cool thing for the world. And it's going to change the way we do almost everything. So I think we'll see augmented reality first really hit home in training facilities and more so apprenticeship kind of work. So you can then if you have an apprentice that has a pair of glasses on that have augmented reality, say an apprentice plumber, for example, you can send him out in the field. You can have your older master plumbers sitting back in a data center or in a call center somewhere. He can then maybe support 20 or 30 different apprentice plumbers that are out in the field, and he can in real time look in on them. He can show them what to do, what tool to use, and he can stream that right to their eyewear, which would be fantastic. So, and then basically that two-way communication between the two. I think it's a home run. It's a no-brainer, and that's where I think the next wave of technology will be from everything that I see in the world today. So I have no idea how long that episode was. Just over 20 minutes. It's not horrible.
It was like 30.
Right at 30 minutes total. That's with the going live early and everything. That's all we got for today, folks. Again, slightly new format. This kind of came up last minute. Didn't know it was happening, so I apologize that we're not our full hour show. I think we got through a lot of it, and I think next week we're going to be leaning back into. With Clicks and Bricks, I'm not sure where we got off scope a little bit and started talking about more business-related stuff than technology leading sales and driving your business. But we had a conversation right before this podcast with Nick, and that's really where we're going to lean back into. We've gone off brand a little bit, and we're going to lean back into that branded of Clicks and Bricks, where technology driving your business, and that's really what I like talking about more than this feelings and mushy stuff. But it is important for you to know those kinds of things. And we don't have a partner for mental health, but it is important to know that you have a staff, and they're important to you, and they're basically, I look at my staff almost like I look at my employees, and then knowing if they do have an issue, to try to get them help. So, at Hosterian at minimum, we carry, a mental health insurance policy, so that if somebody does need those kinds of extra help in life, they can go get it. And there's a lot of great technology out there today, like Talkspace and BetterHelp and things like that, to where you can get online counseling at a very reasonable price. So if you're having problems in life and you need someone to talk to that's not technology, there's a lot of resources out there. If you want to talk tech, hit me up on my text line, 314-370-2871. Ask me any question, and I'll do my best to answer it. That's all I got for today, folks. Get to work.